Imagine walking onto a massive farm in late September. Like, you haven't done a single thing all spring or all summer.
Right, nothing.
You didn't prep the soil, you didn't plant a single seed, definitely didn't water or weed
Yeah,
anything.
just a dirt patch.
Exactly.
Mm.
And you just stand there looking at this barren, dry field, and you think to yourself, um, no problem. I'll just brew a massive pot of coffee, pull an all-nighter, and, cram for the harvest.
I mean, it's worse than absurd, right? It's a complete fundamental misunderstanding of how natural systems actually operate. Like, you simply cannot fake a harvest.
No, you really can't.
But the price has to be paid, the whole sequential process has to be followed, or, well, you just get nothing.
Yet, if you look closely, we try to pull that exact same stunt in our personal lives, like every single day.
Oh, absolutely. All the time.
Well, welcome to this custom-tailored deep dive. We are so thrilled to have you with us. If you're listening right now, our mission today is to cut through all that relentless noise of, superficial, quick fix life hacks.
Yeah, the stuff that doesn't actually work long term.
Right. We are totally bypassing the cosmetic solutions and going straight into the foundational, timeless principles of personal effectiveness. And we're getting this from Stephen R. Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Specifically, we are exploring what's known as the private victory.
The private victory.
Yeah, it's this foundational journey. Well, it's the first 3 habits, basically. And it transitions a person from a state of total dependence on external circumstances or, other people to a state of true grounded independence.
Okay, let's unpack this because there's a massive, philosophical distinction we have to draw right at the top here. It's between the personality ethic and the character ethic.
Oh, this is so crucial.
Right, because for the last century or so, our culture has just been drowning in the personality ethic. That's the belief that success is just a function of public image or slick influence techniques and essentially faking it till you make it.
Yeah, exactly. Quick fixes.
But the character ethic argues that true, lasting effectiveness actually requires deep integrity, humility, and courage. Like, you cannot skip the planting season of your own character.
You really can't. And that brings us to the core concept of the inside-out approach.
Right.
Because you cannot sustainably change your external reality without first changing your fundamental paradigm.
Your paradigms, yeah.
Think of a paradigm as your internal map. It's the very lens through which you experience reality. Like, if your mental map of Chicago is actually a map of Detroit.
Oh man, you're in trouble.
Right. All the positive thinking in the world won't help you. It doesn't matter how fast you drive or how passionately you believe in your driving skills. You are going to be completely lost.
Because the Mac itself is flawed.
Exactly.
The fundamental problem has absolutely nothing to do with your behavior or your effort or your attitude. It has everything to do with that underlying lens. Spot on. So before we can even begin to talk about habits or, daily routines, we really have to understand how deeply our conditioning dictates the reality we actually experience.
Yeah, and there's a brilliant story that perfectly illustrates the mechanics of this paradigm shift.
Oh, the subway story. I love this one.
It's so good. So picture this. It's a Sunday morning on a subway in New York. You've got people sitting quietly, reading the paper, resting. It's a very calm scene.
Just a normal, peaceful commute.
Right. And suddenly, a man enters the subway car with his children, and the kids are completely out of control.
Just feral.
Totally. They are yelling, throwing things, grabbing people's newspapers, absolute chaos.
And the dad is just sitting there, eyes closed, doing absolutely nothing to stop it.
Just completely oblivious to the whole thing. Now imagine you're sitting in that car. Naturally, you'd get irritated, right? Everyone's getting frustrated.
Oh, by be seething.
Exactly. So finally, with immense restraint, a passenger leans over and asks the man if he could please control his children. And the man lifts his gaze as if coming to consciousness for the very first time. And he softly says, "Oh, you're right. I guess I should do something about it. We just came from the hospital where their mother died about an hour ago. I don't know what to think, and I guess they don't know how to handle it either."
Man, it hits you right in the chest. Talk about the ground completely shifting beneath your feet.
It's incredible. But look at the underlying psychology of what happens in that split second. The passenger didn't have to consciously grit his teeth or, force a change of attitude or try to manage his behavior.
His anger simply evaporated.
Yes. Why? Because the human brain is a predictive engine. It assigns meaning based on context.
Right, so when the context was lazy father ignoring bratty kids,
Yeah.
The brain-generated irritation.
Exactly. But the moment the context shifted to grieving family in shock, the brain instantly recalculated.
Wow.
The irritation was effortlessly replaced by profound compassion. When you see things differently, you automatically feel and behave differently.
Which brings us to what we should actually be aligning our paradigms with.
Yeah.
Like, we need objective realities, not just subjective feelings. We need principles.
Yes, principles.
Because principles aren't just good ideas. They're unchangeable laws.
Yeah.
Like, there's this classic anecdote of a battleship on maneuvers in heavy weather.
Oh, the lighthouse story.
Yeah. The captain sees a light ahead on a collision course. He signals, "Change course 20 degrees." The reply flashes back, "Advisable for you to change course."
Oh, right.
The captain is furious. He signals, "I'm a captain. Change course. I'm a battleship."
And the final reply comes back, "I'm a seaman second class. I'm a lighthouse."
Checkmate. The battleship has to change course.
Ugh.
But here is my question for you, listening right now. If principles are like lighthouses,
Which they are.
if they're like gravity and simply cannot be broken, what happens when we try to ignore them in our daily lives? We can't break the laws of physics, right? So it seems to me we don't break the laws, we just break ourselves against them.
Wow. Yeah, what's fascinating here is how that directly applies to the principle of effectiveness itself. It's often called the PPC balance.
PPC balance, right?
Yeah, think of Aesop's fable of the goose and the golden egg.
Yeah.
You have a poor farmer who discovers his goose is laying eggs of pure gold.
He hits the jackpot.
He becomes rich, but he gets impatient. He wants all the gold right now, so he kills the goose, cuts it open, and, well, finds nothing.
He killed the production capability to get the immediate production.
Precisely. The P stands for production, right? The golden eggs. The PC stands for production capability, which is the health and well-being of the goose.
Right.
When we ignore this principle in modern life, like a company forcing an employee to work 80-hour weeks indefinitely to hit a quarterly target,
Ugh, happens all the time.
or a parent screaming at a child to get immediate compliance, we are slaughtering the goose. We get the short-term result, but we completely ruin the asset.
Right.
We destroy the employee's mental health and loyalty. We destroy the child's internal discipline. True, lasting effectiveness always lies in the delicate balance between the two.
So if our paradigms dictate our reality, and effectiveness requires aligning those paradigms with unbreakable principles, then the absolute first step toward independence has to be realizing that we have the power to step back and choose our paradigms.
Yes, and that brings us to the foundation. Habit 1, be proactive.
Be proactive.
And this goes far beyond just taking initiative. It is about taking ultimate radical responsibility for your own life.
Totally.
To understand the depth of this, we really have to look at the story of Viktor Frankl. He was a psychiatrist imprisoned in the Nazi death camps.
Unimaginable horrors.
Exactly. He endured the worst things imaginable. His entire family, except for his sister, was murdered. He was stripped of every physical freedom a human being possesses.
But in the absolute depths of that deprivation, he discovered a fundamental human truth. Like, he realized that his captors could control his entire environment, they could torture his body,
Right.
but they could not control his response.
Yes.
Between the stimulus, what happened to him, and his response, there was a space. And in that space was his ultimate freedom to choose.
That space is everything. It really is. It is the definition of proactivity. It's recognizing your responsibility, literally your inherent ability to choose your response.
Wow, responsibility.
Think about how profound this is for a moment.
Uh-huh.
Proactive people do not blame their genetics or their parents or their toxic bosses or their current circumstances for their behavior.
Right.
They recognize that their behavior is a product of their own conscious choice based on their values, not just a product of their conditions.
You can actually hear this difference in how people speak, you know. Reactive language sounds like,
Yeah.
I have to do this, or she makes me so mad, or that's just the way I am.
Yeah, completely victim-minded.
It's entirely designed to absolve the speaker of responsibility. It transfers the power to someone or something else. But proactive language sounds like, I choose to, or I prefer, or I will look at alternatives.
And we also see this in where we invest our mental energy. Think about your circle of concern.
Okay.
That's all the things you care about but have zero control over.
Yeah.
Like the national debt, the weather, or what your coworkers secretly think of you.
All the stuff that keeps us up at night.
Exactly. Reactive people love living in their circle of concern. It provides cheap emotional engagement without the heavy burden of actual responsibility.
Oh, that is so true.
They doom scroll, they complain, They feel victimized, and as a result, their actual circle of influence, the things that they can actually control, shrinks.
Wow.
Proactive people do the exact opposite. They ignore the noise and focus purely on their circle of influence. They work on themselves, and because of that positive, proactive energy, their influence naturally expands.
Okay, I have to push back here. Because there is a pill in this concept that is incredibly bitter to swallow.
Let's hear it.
Eleanor Roosevelt famously said, "No one can hurt you without your consent." Gandhi said something similar, like, "They cannot take away our self-respect if we do not give it to them."
Very powerful quotes.
But wait a minute. What about genuinely toxic bosses? What about deeply abusive circumstances? Are we honestly just supposed to accept that we choose our misery?
Yeah, it is a profoundly challenging concept, and it understandably triggers a lot of resistance. But consider a scenario from the book. A woman working as a full-time nurse caring for a deeply miserable, ungrateful patient.
Okay.
He constantly found fault, never showed an ounce of appreciation, and she felt completely miserable every time she went to work. She was highly offended by the idea that she had, quote-unquote, chosen her misery.
Because he's the one behaving like a monster. It's his fault.
But as she analyzed that space between his behavior and her response, she realized something really uncomfortable. She was choosing to let his toxicity dictate her internal emotional state.
Oh, wow.
She was actively empowering his weakness to control her identity. When she finally swallowed that bitter pill and accepted her own agency, the dynamic completely flipped.
How so?
Well, she realized that if she could choose to be miserable, she could also choose not to be. She later said she felt like she was being let out of a prison cell. The toxic patient didn't change his behavior at all, but he no longer held power over her.
Wow. So habit one essentially tells you, you are the programmer. You have the independent will to write the code of your life.
Exactly.
But, and this is a massive realization, being a programmer is incredibly dangerous if you don't actually know what program you're trying to write.
So true.
You might become highly effective at completely ruining your life, which naturally pulls us into habit two, begin with the end in mind.
Right. The core premise here is that all things are created twice. There is always a mental creation and then a physical creation.
Right.
Think about building a house. You draw the blueprint first, agonizing over every single detail before you ever let a backhoe touch the dirt. If you skip the mental creation, you're going to make devastatingly expensive mistakes during the physical creation.
To force this mental creation, there is a visceral visualization exercise. If you're listening to this on your commute or at the gym right now, try to picture this. Imagine you are walking into a funeral parlor.
It's intense.
It is. You see the flowers, you hear the quiet music, you walk to the front of the room, look into the casket, and you come face to face with yourself. It is your funeral, exactly 3 years from today.
And you take a seat and you look at the program in your hand. There are 4 speakers. One is from your family, one is a close friend, one is from your profession, and one is from your community.
Okay.
The ultimate question is, what do you want each of those speakers to say about you? What specific character traits would you like them to have seen? What lasting difference did you make in their lives?
It just strips away all the daily noise and forces you to define your ultimate destination. Because if you don't, you end up climbing the ladder of success, only to reach the top and realize it was leaning against the completely wrong wall.
Exactly. And this perfectly highlights the massive difference between management and leadership. Management is about efficiency, doing things right. Leadership is about effectiveness, doing the right things.
Right.
Picture a group of producers cutting their way through a dense jungle with machetes. The managers are right behind them, sharpening the machetes, writing procedure manuals, optimizing the work schedules.
Setting up muscle massage stations,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, they are incredibly efficient. But the leader is the one who climbs the tallest tree, surveys the entire landscape, and yells down, "Wrong jungle."
And what do the managers yell back? Shut up, we're making great progress.
Exactly.
We get so addicted to the busyness of life, the dopamine hits of checking off to-do lists, that we don't realize we are efficiently marching toward a destination we don't actually want. To fix this, we have to examine what lies at our center. Whatever is at the center of your life is the source of your security, your guidance, your wisdom, and your power.
And everyone has a center, whether they consciously recognize it or not. Some people are family-centered. Many are work-centered or money-centered or even enemy-centered, where their entire identity is wrapped up in someone who wronged them.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Think about what happens if you center your life on money or your career, or even your spouse.
Mm.
It is essentially like riding a roller coaster without a seatbelt.
Ooh, that's a great way to put it.
Your emotional security and your internal guidance system are entirely at the mercy of the tracks. You are violently jerked up and down based on wildly fluctuating external factors. Like if your center is your spouse, and your spouse has a terrible day and lashes out, your entire foundation crumbles.
Yeah.
If your center is your career and the market crashes or you get laid off, you don't just lose a job. You lose your fundamental identity.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, there is only one center that offers true, unshakable security, and that's a principle-centered life.
Principle-centered.
Because correct principles, things like fairness, integrity, human dignity, continuous learning, they do not change. They won't divorce you. They won't crash in a recession. They won't get mad at you. They are an immovable, perfectly secure core.
And to anchor ourselves to that core, the recommendation is to draft a personal mission statement, a personal constitution. You sit down and articulate exactly what you want to be and what you want to do based on those principles.
Right.
It becomes the ultimate standard by which you measure every major decision.
It creates a changeless core inside of you. And psychologically speaking, human beings cannot effectively handle the massive, rapid changes of the modern world if they do not have a changeless core inside of them.
All right, let's take a breath and synthesize this. Habit 1 gives us the profound realization that we are the creator. We own the space between stimulus and response. Habit 2 is the first creation. It's the blueprint, the mission statement. But a blueprint doesn't magically pour concrete. You actually have to go out into the dirt and lay the bricks day after grueling day.
And that brings us to habit 3, put first things first. Habit 3 is the physical actualization. It's where the rubber meets the road.
The execution phase.
Exactly. It's about personal management, independent will, and the discipline to prioritize. Now, for anyone listening who knows the basics of time management, you've probably used checklists or calendars or, daily prioritization schemes.
Sure.
But the highest level of time management realizes something counterintuitive. We shouldn't be trying to manage time at all. Time marches on regardless. We should be managing ourselves.
To visualize this, think of the time management matrix. It categorizes every single thing we do by 2 factors. Is it urgent? And is it important?
We all know the drill.
Urgent means it's screaming in your face, a ringing phone, a deadline, a crisis. Important means it actually contributes to your mission statement and your deepest values.
And this creates 4 quadrants. Quadrant first is urgent and important. These are the crises. Quadrant third is urgent, but not important. These are the popular meetings, the constant Slack notifications, the interruptions.
Right.
This raises an important question. Why are so many high achievers absolutely addicted to quadrant first? It's because putting out fires provides a massive dopamine hit. You feel like a hero.
Oh, totally. You feel incredibly busy and therefore valuable.
But people who live in these quadrants are exhausted. They are constantly managing crises, and ironically, they feel completely victimized by their own lives.
Then you have quadrant fourth, which is not urgent and not important. That's just mindless escapism.
Yeah.
Binge watching TV for 6 hours because you're burned out from the crises.
Yeah, you've all been there.
But the real magic, the absolute secret to effective personal management, lies in quadrant 2.
Quadrant 2 is important, but not urgent. This is relationship building. This is long-range planning, preventive maintenance, exercise, deep work. Because these things are never urgent, they will never, ever act on you. You have to be proactive and choose to act on them.
There's a brilliant real-world example of this involving a group of shopping center managers. They were asked what one single thing would make a tremendous positive difference in their financial results. They all agreed. Building helpful, consultative relationships with the store owners.
Right. Highly important.
But when they audited their time, they were only spending about 5% of their time actually doing it. Why? Because they were totally consumed by quadrant quets crises and quadrant 3 administrative interruptions.
But once they proactively shifted their focus, deciding to force a third of their time into quadrant 2, actually helping the tenants increase foot traffic rather than just policing their lease agreements, the results were explosive.
Because they focused on the important stuff.
Exactly. Sales went up, lease revenues increased, and the managers themselves were far more satisfied. They actually shrank their quadrant crises because they were focusing on prevention and relationship building.
So what does this all mean? How do you, the listener, actually find the time for quadrant 2 when you feel like you are drowning in a sea of daily emergencies? It sounds to me like we need to learn how to feed opportunities and completely starve problems.
That is the exact mindset required. But the brutal, practical reality is that the only place to get time for quadrant 2 is to ruthlessly steal it from quadrants 3 and 4.
Oh, wow.
To do that, the only way to say yes to quadrant 2 is to have the courage to pleasantly, unapologetically say no to other things. And psychologically speaking, you can only sustain that no if you are driven by a deeper, burning yes inside, which comes directly from that habit 2 mission statement. The ultimate enemy of the best is often the good.
You have to know what matters most, so you aren't constantly at the mercy of things that matter least.
Exactly. And if we step back and look at this entire journey toward the private victory, we see a beautifully integrated sequential process. True effectiveness is strictly an inside-out process.
Inside out.
It starts by examining your paradigms, realizing your map might be wrong, then utilizing your self-awareness to claim the space between stimulus and response, choosing your reaction to the world. That is habit 1.
Right.
Then you use your imagination to define your ultimate destination and values, creating a changeless core. That is habit 2. And finally, you exercise the daily, gritty, independent will to prioritize what truly matters over what is merely screaming for your attention. That is habit 3.
It is a phenomenal framework for reclaiming your agency. And to close out our deep dive today, I want to leave you, the listener, with a final thought to mull over. It's a highly specific story that perfectly encapsulates the danger of the quick fix, outside-in approach we talked about at the very beginning.
Yeah, this one is sobering.
Imagine returning home to your 3-year-old daughter's birthday party. You walk in and find her in the corner of the room, defiantly clutching all her new presents, absolutely refusing to let any of the other children play with them.
A classic parenting nightmare.
Right. The room is full of other parents, and you feel a wave of intense embarrassment. You feel the heavy social pressure to prove that you are a good parent who has taught your child to share. First, you try a simple request. She says no.
Of course.
Then you try reasoning with her. She says no. Then you try bribing her with a piece of gum. She explodes. I don't want gum.
Naturally.
Finally, exasperated, embarrassed, and feeling your authority challenged in front of your peers, you resort to pure force. You use your size and your position to physically rip the toys from her hand and distribute them to the other kids. You got the quick fix. You got the immediate golden egg. The toys were shared.
But look at the catastrophic damage done to the goose.
Exactly. The next time you are tempted to use your position, authority, or size to force a quick result with a child, a spouse, or an employee, ask yourself, am I borrowing strength? Because borrowing strength builds weakness. It weakens you by making you dependent on external factors to get things done. It weakens the other person by completely stunting the development of their internal discipline, and it replaces genuine cooperation with fear in the relationship. To be truly effective, you must rely on your own intrinsic character.
It's a powerful, sobering reminder that there are absolutely no shortcuts in human development.
None at all. Remember, you can't cram on a farm. You have to plant the seeds of your character ethic today. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the private victory. We hope it empowers you to start actively building your own internal lighthouses. Catch you next time.